Yo, it's your boy Will Cyrus, and you are watching season 3 of Perspective. I'm telling y'all, get your popcorn ready. You ain't got it yet? Get your popcorn. We coming live. Come on. Hey, who is that ringing on my doorbell like they the police? I'm just messing with y'all. Hey, I know y'all used to MTV cribs, but let me show y'all in the Will's crib. Hold on, man, I forgot. I'm so rude. Hey, man, this your boy Will Cyrus, aka owner and founder of Purpose Builder and Developments. Slide with me. Let me show y'all around. Where I'm from, like, it wasn't always like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I come from very humble beginnings, no different than any other cat that came from where I came from. You know, it just so happened, you know, God decided to shed his grace on me, allow for me from a mental perspective, right? Because I don't think you get out because of, you know, making it to the NFL or money. I think you get out of the prison, you know, this hood mentality by being saved by Jesus, by being saved by God. Because I had a lot of homeboys that was making it, you know, in the streets, that made it to the league, made it to these different places, but because their mind wasn't saved, they were still stuck in the day-to-day trap. You know, and if I look at some of their lives today, man, you know, these dudes ain't got no peace.
Right.
You know, they stressed out. They don't really have no purpose. They lack identity. So I'm just grateful that I made it out of here first. And by me being able to make it out of the mind, the prison of the mind first, I was able to create and cultivate all the things in which we're sitting in today.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Look, it's your host, your boy, your cousin, your kinfolk, Tyrell, host of Perspective. As y'all know, Perspective is a space where you and I take life-changing perspective to transform the world around us. But today, on season 3 of Perspective, I got none other than a businessman, a man of legacy, a founder, a builder, a strategic genius, a business family man of God, my boy, Will Cyrus. What's going on, bro?
What's good, my boy?
Hey, I'm glad you joined me for this episode, man. For real.
Already, man. Glad to be here, man.
It's been a long time coming. But yeah, man, this season is all about really taking our life-changing journey and really giving people perspective, really being able to give people tools, give the viewers and the fam tools to apply to their daily lives so they can transform the world around us. And I thought, what better person to be on than you?
Sure.
Man, we've been knowing each other, since 2015, I think now?
15, maybe 16.
16, yeah. So, but man, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, for sure. We're right here in this beautiful home, beautiful property right now. Home that you designed, home that you built, and we're gonna get into that. When it comes to, man, just like a little bit of like your background, where you're from, who you are, just give us a little bit of like, kind of like your upbringing, where you're from and what that was like for you.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, you know, once again, this your boy Will Cyrus. You know, no relation to Miley, but you know, man, you know, Will, owner of Purpose Builder and Developments. I have a modern, contemporary, new construction development firm. So essentially, like, I buy land and I redevelop communities, redevelop raw land, and I turn it into these modern structures. So if you're looking at this house in which we're sitting in is over 5,500 square foot. It's a mansion, and right now it's listed on the market for a little over $1 million. But that's pretty much what I do, man. So like, I guess tying back into like where I'm from, like, it wasn't always like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I come from very humble beginnings, no different than any other cat that came from where I came from. You know, it just so happened, you know, God decided to shed his grace on me and allow for me from a mental perspective, right? Because I don't think you get out because of, you know, making it to the NFL or money. I think you get out of the prison, you know, this hood mentality, by being saved by Jesus, by being saved by God. Because I had a lot of homeboys that was making it, you know, in the streets, that made it to the league, made it to these different places, but because their mind wasn't saved, they were still stuck in the day-to-day trap. You know, and if I look at some of their lives today, man, you know, these dudes ain't got no peace.
Right.
You know, they stressed out. They don't really have no purpose. They lack identity. So I'm just grateful that I made it out of here first. And by me being able to make it out of the mind, the prison of the mind first, I was able to create and cultivate all the things in which we're sitting in today. So,
man, and talking about Florida, where you're from, right? And talking about being in a hood, being in a place where, you know, you do hear gunshots at night, being in a place where, you know, some may not know where their next meal is coming from. You spoke a moment about not being, you know, not going to the league, right? Not going to the NFL, not becoming a professional athlete. In America, there is a stigma about men of color, right? Black men or men of color who either you have to be successful, you have to be an artist, right? A rapper, right? Or a singer, or you had to be a professional athlete. And you know, these are some of the only ways to have a claims to fame or success. Man, talk about how important, I know you do a lot of things with the youth. I know you do a lot of things with going back to your neighborhood and connecting and developing, but talk about how important it is for the youth to have an opportunity to transform their mindset coming from a background like yours.
Man, I think it's everything, dude. Like, and I always go back to myself, man. Like, honestly, you know, I sit down and I really think, I'm like, man, I don't know how I did it. It had to be God. Right. So when I look at these kids, man, you know, first and foremost, they need to see more individuals like myself, like yourself.
Right.
You know, I wasn't afforded that opportunity. Growing up, I never saw a mentor. I never seen, you know, someone that looked like me to come back and just show love to me. You know, throw the football around with me. You know, of course, you had the dope boys in the hood. You know, if they saw you had a little talent or whatever, they'll be like, he a little different, leave him alone. You know what I'm saying? But even then, like, you know, I still got sucked into that because, you know, bills got to get paid. You know, you got to be fresh going to school.
Right.
You know, I need some school clothes, so you do what you got to do to get by. Which is why I don't judge these kids when they do what they do. Because you can only do what you know and what you see around you.
Right.
And if you don't have people like myself or yourself and, you know, positive black men in general, whether it's the pastors in the communities, the activists, whatever the case may be, actually sit down and just chop it up with these kids, throw the football, shoot the basketball, you know, give them a word, man. You know, I started just doing the glamorous things, like actually like sit and mingle with these people. Invest that time. You know, these kids will never get it because, you know, of course you can say, well, they got examples on YouTube. They see these rappers. Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, but that's digital, bro.
Right.
People, they need that quality time, man.
They need something real, something they can real, like make contact with.
You know what I'm saying? They need to see it on. It don't got to be a day-to-day basis. Like, I was that type of kid. Like, you know, when you look at the word, it talks about, you know, that's the planting and the sowing of the seeds. You know, some seeds was easy to be able to be snatched up by the devil, and some seeds were, you know, got planted and produced a crop of that tenfold.
Right.
I just was great, you know, graced by the grace of God to be that good seed. But man, like, you never know, like, how a small seed, man, can be planted in one of these kids, and like the word says, you know, one man, you know, plants them and sows, but God giveth the increase.
Yes, yeah.
You know, God is gonna be the one who's gonna turn that kid's life around, you know, into whatever it's gonna be in the future. It may not happen until they 42, but it's gonna happen at some time, and it's our jobs as black men to go sow seeds into these youth.
Yeah.
Or whatever God gives us to sow seeds, because we all got different types of ministries. You know, mine might be called to the urban community. Somebody else's can be called to corporate America. Somebody else could be called to bruised and battered woman. Whatever God gifted you, you know, from a calling perspective and from a, you know, evangelism perspective, that's where you got to go sow seeds at.
When you said a moment ago about planting a seed, right? You know, sitting in this build right now that we're in, right? This full-on rendering, right? A moment ago, I'm saying, like, you took it from sketch to render to actual being built. Take us through seeing what could be possible. You didn't start here, right? I mean, I think you also were, you know, I dare say 40 under 40, or I know Forbes may have featured you for being a financial advisor. And talk about what you were exposed to that showed you it was possible to be where you're at now.
Like, for me, man, I took an unconventional route, man. Like,
please, talk about it.
Like, my route wasn't like these other kids that went to Harvard, you know, that went to these top Ivy League programs or top business schools. Like, I got my education from the streets, bro. And I tell people all the time, man, like, everything that you see me in, you know, it comes from the streets. You know, growing up and watching, like, the big time dope boys on the block. You know, growing up next to a dope house, a trap house, you know, crack house, whatever you want to call it. I learned business skills, deductive reasoning. I call it trap theology. I learned that at a young age, and it taught me to be the businessman I am today. You know, it taught me work ethic, right? And one thing about the streets, one thing watching Dope Boys, it teaches you is leadership skills, how to be a leader amongst men in their own, you know, in their own way.
Wow.
You know, there's different, you know, styles of leadership. And then when you mix that with the word of God, you know, you get saved, you know, you get into your Bible, you start to marry, you know, the things, you know, that God gifted you to, because the gifts of God are given without repentance.
Yeah.
So I was always gifted. We're always gifted.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You know, so, you know, in looking at it like my unconventional route, I learned all of my business from the streets. Start watching these dope boys, how they led. You know, before they went to the feds, I always studied their movement. Like, dang, I like how he moved. Boom, I like his leadership skills. I like how he talk to people, how he motivates people to be able to get things done. So he get a pat, boom, he putting this whole community on. He putting this person to work because he knows this person is good at this, that person is good at that. And then he runs his whole organization, you know, just by leading. He ain't selling out one drug, he's leading it, he's directing it like a film director. So just learning that, you know, I learned business. I learned about, you learn supply chain management.
Okay.
You know, you learn, you know, supply and demand, you know, economics. So that when you do get to college, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Like,
and what was that like? Because you went to school at, was it USF?
I went to a bunch of schools, dog. So I played sports. So fresh out of high school, you know, I had to take like the junior college, like community college route. So I went up to Ohio, went to some little small school in Tiffin, Ohio. Heidelberg's like a D3, you know, it's just a little placeholder school, you know, so that I can go to kind of like, you know, figure my life out. My grades wasn't where they needed to be. So I went up there for a semester. I got home, said, bring on the cool. I had to come home because there wasn't no black girls, bro.
Hey, bro,
talk,
bro.
It was no black girls, bro.
No black women.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I like white. You know, white. I like.
And what was that like? Was
it
that culture shock? Like, was that going to Ohio from Florida? What was that? Was that one of the first times you were like the minority in a room, let alone no black? Like, what was that like going up to Ohio?
It wasn't a culture shock because, like, you know, I came from the hood, but I had left Deerfield High.
Okay.
And I had went to Boca Raton. And Boca Raton was like a predominantly white school. Okay. So when I got to Ohio, it wasn't like no culture shock or nothing.
Okay.
It just was more so like, it's boring up here, bro, and this ain't my speed, bro. Like, I had to come back and go to an HBCU. So that's why I transferred to Bethune, because I was ready to get on them babies.
Oh my God.
We from Florida. That's what
it was about.
It was about.
That's what it was about, to be honest.
I'm 18. I'm trying to get on some girls. Like, you know, they say, well, what do you know what at? You know what I'm saying? I'm on their head. So I had to hurry up.
Focus, yeah.
Put my application in. Like, I applied for FAM, but FAM, they told me, I guess I wasn't smart enough. So FAM did not.
I said, hey, listen, appreciate you. Appreciate the grades up.
You. Thank you for your application.
But unfortunately,
we regret, you know, the boy denied me, bro. So Bethune accepted me. Went to Bethune. And then, you know, I was at Bethune. I was like, yeah, Bethune kind of joking. You know, Bethune capping. I mean, it's a cool school. Ain't got nothing against Bethune. I love my black experience, but at that time, I felt like it didn't have what I needed in order to excel from a business perspective.
Okay.
So I ended up leaving Bethune, and I transferred to USF in Tampa.
Okay.
And that's where I got my degree at, and I graduated on time. So that's kind of like how, you know, I maneuvered through all that. So
how'd you get to Dallas and get in the space of some of the things you've been involved in? I mean, if y'all don't know, Will is an established author. You know, he came out with a book some years ago. You know, was featured in a financial advising top 40 under 40 magazine. So like, how did that lead you to Dallas in the next phase?
So really, man, I was working in corporate America at the time. I was working for a firm. One thing led to another. I ended up getting fired from a job. And that kind of taught me, man, I knew I wasn't fit for corporate America. Like, no matter where I worked in corporate America, it's like, dude, like, I find it hard to work for other people, dude. Like, I just don't have that skill set of being bossed around, told what to do. And that's the street dude to me. I always been a general my whole life, bro. I never been a worker bee, bro. You know, sometimes you get saved, you know, you start thinking, well, it's time to do the right thing, and, you know, go to college, get a degree, and, you know, get an honest job and work for somebody.
Right, you know, work somewhere for 20 years, do like what the grandparents did, and get that retirement and just sit. Yeah, like.
But that ain't me, bro. I've always been an entrepreneur my whole life. since selling Pokemon cards, you know, to selling boxes of pizza at school. Like I never been like a worker bee, bro.
Wow.
So I don't know what, you know, I thought, you know, just being in church was, you know, you get saved, you know, go get a job. I'm not a job dude. Like that's never been me, bro. Like I've been a hustler. I've been in these streets my whole life, bro. So like I knew that wasn't gonna work out for me. So when I got into corporate America, I kept getting fired, bro, because I'm not a good employee.
Right.
So that's how I transitioned into like financial advising, because I was like, all right, I think I can sell some life insurance, no boss. I can do my own thing, have my own practice. But even within that, you're in a ecosystem, right, in which you have, you know, the Department of Insurance, you have the Department of, you know, the SEC, you know, Securities and Exchange Commission.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of red tape and compliance, and I'm not good with being shackled behind the wrist. You can't do this, you can't say that.
Right.
You know,
limitations, being very limited. Mm-hmm.
I'm a free thinker, bro. I'm too gifted, man. Like I'm too like free range.
Creative with your thoughts.
Yeah, to be held confined to one way of doing things. It's why, like, no matter what industry I've ever gotten into business wise, I've always been successful, because I can't do things the way that y'all do it.
Right.
Like I'm different, bro. Like I'm not doing it that way. That's lame, bro. That's boring. Yeah, that's cool that you might be successful doing it that way.
Right.
But I come from the hood, bro, and I got a different swag and sauce than you do.
Right.
So I can't do it excuse my French, the white boy way or the professional way.
Right. Or yeah, just,
you know,
a typical American you know,
way.
Yeah, man. I think it's important for, you know, as we even learn who we are and as we become who we are, to know the parts of us that, you know what, that was learned. I picked that up, and now I've been brought through a process and I'm being chiseled at my core. And it's okay to own that process. Like it's okay to come into our own. So that way, when we go into these environments, go into these negotiations, go into these conversations, we're not bringing like this very unauthentic self. We're bringing a very authentic self, a very, very learned self, a very confident self. And that part is what's impactful. Like I feel like God can really only use the genuine part of us. No matter what our journey or story looks like, he can use it. And I think that's why he is very specific on giving us vision. Let's talk to the fellas for a moment. How important is it to like live your life with a vision?
Bro, that's a good question, man. I think a lot of times we as men, you know, we come at it from a worldly perspective, right? So myself included, like, you know, like a lot of us growing up in the inner cities, or, you know, in single parent households, or whatever household you were raised in.
Right.
Maybe you did have a strong black father. A lot of us, we get our visions from what we see.
Facts.
Right?
That's true.
Like for me, it was from the streets. For other people, it could be from their dads. And although, you know, in some certain scenarios that could be good, we have to be careful that we don't wrap our identity into other people's identities and not in what God has called us to do.
That's true.
Because we're all gifted with something. God has gifted us with some type of talents, right, to change the world, you know, in a positive way, right? The world around us. So, you know, that may look big to some people, it may look small to others, but at the end of the day, God determines what's big, right? So I know from a man's perspective, right, I had to learn to change my vision, right, and my perspective and all of my logic from what the world expects me to do to what God has called me to do based on the key criteria, the gifts and talents that I have. What I got,
nobody else.
I mean, some people may have certain little flavors to it, but I'm me. There isn't going to be another me. You may have people that may look like me, they may think they talk like me, got similar personality traits, but they ain't got my sauce. Just like I ain't got your sauce, bro.
Right.
So when it comes to a vision, man, that vision has to be rooted in the gifts that God has given you, but more importantly, man, it got to be rooted in prayer. So I learned, man, I had to sit down and really ask God, like, okay, God, like, what am I good at? Okay, what breaks my heart that's tied to your heart? So once I started to marry and mix all those things in a gumbo pot, so we mixing, right? And when we're making this God divine purpose, this given vision that comes from above and not below. You know, it doesn't come from if I look to my left, if I look to my right, if I look up, if I look down. It only comes from looking within, looking at the Holy Spirit. And when I started to look at it from that perspective, man, God started to speak to me on like, okay, this is what I want you to do, right? He starts to lead me in that direction. He never gave me like the full picture, like, okay, Let me get his handbook.
Right.
I want you to run a post out and then a post up. If the DB do
Right.
this, you come back. If you do
Right.
this, you go out.
Go route. Come back.
Come back. He just, through the Holy Spirit, being a believer, he just leads you in that way. And even when you're not saved, like when I wasn't saved, God was still ordering my steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he knew, like, God always had his hand on me. And even in the moments in which you're not like walking with God, like he still like watches over those, who he deems as his. Mm-hmm. So God is gonna always direct and guide you. He's always speaking. He doesn't audibly speak like, Will, I want you to do this.
Right. On some Casper type. Yeah. Sometimes we make a relationship with God, or others' idea of God, make it very mystic, and it's not. It's very much relationship driven. It's very much relational. And a moment ago, when you said about that vision started with that mindset being changed and transforming, that perspective being changed, which also was founded in God, founded in prayer. Bro, talk about some moments in life where all you were left to was lean on faith. Maybe a deal was about to go through and it fell through. Maybe someone told you something and they didn't keep their word. How have you managed to navigate disappointments and having to lean on faith in this journey to where you are now?
I mean, I got like so many like examples I could use, bro.
Yeah. Like
even like with business, like, man, I'm making a whole lot of money, but at the end of the day, man, I just got this peace that surpasses all understanding, and that helps me to navigate through the bad times. Mm-hmm. Just to use a bad time as an example.
Yeah.
I remember like I was the first developer, regardless of skin color, to throw a $500,000 house in Fair Park. So like, when God gave me that vision, I was like, you want me to do what? You want me to put a house over here? Like this type of house? He was like, yeah, I want you to do that. And I'm like, nah, bro, that's kind of crazy.
That's right. That's not what we doing, guys. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I can invest my money into other things. I got other stuff I'm trying to do. But God was like, he just kept, like, the Holy Spirit, like, kept breaking me, like, and leading me towards that direction. And I was like, all right, God, I'm going to build this house in the hood. I don't know who's going to buy this house, but you told me to build it.
It's on you.
It's on you. If I look stupid, I make a bad business decision, God, it's on you. And then God got quiet, because got one thing about God, that's how I know he a man. When he said what he said, he said what he said. That's it. Going back and forth with you.
You don't have, bro. I was talking to one of my bros the other week, and we were talking about how God does not ask how we feel about what he says.
Exactly.
He does not ask us how we feel about what he said to do. And also, it took me a while to mature to a place where if I feel compelled in my heart to donate to someone poor, if I feel compelled in my heart to give someone advice, add knowledge to somebody, add value, God was like, hey, stop caring about the result of your obedience. Don't care about the end result, and that's what our generation is. We want the quick. We want the end result. We don't want to go through a process. Because like, I need you to do what I said to do, and then that's it. Be invested in doing what I said to do. Be invested in adding value to folks. Be invested into truly transforming lives. However you do that, doesn't matter if you bagging groceries at Kroger. Doesn't matter if you're managing a auto dealership for Honda. Doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mother. God's saying, do what I've told you to do, and let the result come. I think our generation really invested on the end result. We want the end. We want the end now. And then we also want to broadcast as we're going through our process, not knowing that we shouldn't announce everything that we're going through. We should not announce every market that where God's taking us. Look at Joseph. He announced his brother, this is my vision. Do we know if God told him to run his mouth? Yes or no? Who knows? God said he'll work it all together, but Joseph still ran his mouth. But I think it's very important to truly be mindful of, look, I have to go through a process. Don't be invested in the end result, but be invested in being obedient. And you were obedient in that. You built the house, right? How quickly did that house sell? Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
I mean, honestly, bro, like, when God is in it, man, you gonna win it. Like, literally, the whole process was smooth for me. I didn't have no hiccups. I might have had a couple crackheads try to steal a couple things here and there.
Right.
But, I mean, it was smooth, dude. Like, I got the house built in, like, 4 months. I put that house up, man, from the time I poured foundation, framing, sheetrock, siding, brick, painting, all that good jazz, material, electrical, plumbing, all that. 4 months. Once I uploaded pictures, dude, and got it staged, that house was under contract in 2 days. Like literally 2 days.
Wow.
So, I mean, like God was all through it, man. One thing about me, man, I'm sensitive to the Holy Spirit. When I hear dog, when I say dog, like me and God got this hood like relationship. Like when dog be speaking to me, bro, I just be like, all right, bro, I hear you, bro. And that street dude in me start to kick in. That's why I truly believe God allowed me to grow up in the streets. Cause like one thing about a street dude, we get things done, we execute.
Right.
Now we about to slide to one of my favorite rooms. It's the AKA turnip room, wine room, and water can turn into wine. Christians, come with me. So this that room where I really believe T-Pain recorded and let me buy you a drink. So you got your little boo thing over here, your little vape thing. You can stand behind the bar fellas. You know what I'm saying? Ask her what she drinking on. She probably wants some of that Casamigos. You know, that 1942, get your bread up, fellas. You know, if you save, that's okay too. You know, we can pour you a little wine. You know, it's fermented to whatever you need it to be. You know what I'm saying? Like you want, what do you call it? Shirley Caesar, Shirley Temple, whatever. We can do that too. So, wine room, we even got bottles on deck. You can put some Cristal, you can put whatever you want. You put that LeBron James drink, what is it, Cabos, whatever, I don't know what it's called. You know, Drake got a drink too, all of them. So you can put all that up in your wine rack. And I got it wired for you to be able to put one of your little wine cellars, your wine coolers. So I came with it when it came to the detailing and the design of this house. So now let's go to the next spot. The Thanksgiving area is what I call it. So when you sit down, you know, at the head of the table, he said, let us pray for Thanksgiving. And he said, Father God, and he praying for the church table legs, he praying for everybody's health, he praying for the chicken legs, the turkey legs, the dressing. This is where all the magic happens. This is where families are gathered. This is where prayers are made. I call this the prayer room, aka dining. Now we're walking into the kitchen. So I really put a lot of detail when I thought about it with my architects and my designers into the design of this kitchen. You know, all the way down to the quartz countertops. This ain't no cheap countertops. This that real stuff. This that $40-something a square foot Cal copper. That real stuff right here with the gold fixtures. You gotta turn this off. The water's too hot nowadays.
What do you wish someone would have told you coming up, having to navigate the moves you make, you know, in the conversations you're in? What do you wish somebody would have told you?
Man, that's a good question, dog. It's like, man, to be honest, man, it's gonna be simple, man. I just really wish somebody would have like got me to understand. Cause one thing to tell somebody something, it's something else to get them to understand. I just really wish somebody got me to understand the importance of involving God into every decision that you make, big or small. And I feel like a lot of things that I experienced in life could have been mitigated had I had that mindset early on. Because a lot of the things I did, you know, in the streets, you know, getting in trouble, you know, making unwise decisions, whether it be dating, whether it be, you know, hanging out with the wrong people, you know, going down certain paths, I could have avoided and alleviated a lot of headache and stress, and even like a lot of the, you know, my bros in my life had. I had this the wisdom that I got now. I could have dropped a word, I mean, maybe a word or two off to them. You know, to kind of, maybe it could have, I could have sowed a seed to change the direction and path of their lives. But you know, God does everything for a reason. You know, you can't question the way that God does things. But you know, I just really wish somebody would have got me to understand. You know, you got to include God in every decision that you make, man. And even now, I'm still trying to understand that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't include God in every detail. You know, you get people that are cap and be like, God is in everything I do. Like,
and then they do everything top to bottom and ask no questions. And then things don't work out, and they're like, hold on, what happened? It's like,
it's that God.
Right.
Just because it's a good idea don't make it a God idea. You know, I made a lot of good ideas in my life that, from a worldly perspective, they did very well financially and stuff. But when I look back and I'm like, yeah, man, like something missing. And that's that G-O-D, not the G-O-O-D.
Right.
So,
man, that's good, bro. Man, I think that's amazing, bro. I mean, even thinking about the book that you wrote, From Project to Profit, like, did you ever consider yourself ever writing or becoming an author? Like, where did that desire spark for you writing your book?
I mean, honestly, bro, like, it was one of those God things, bro. Like, I I didn't come out the womb, or I didn't grow up saying I'm gonna be an author one day.
Right. I'm gonna write a book.
Yeah. It's like, bro, really, it came out of nowhere, bro. Like the desire, like I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm hustling, I'm doing my business thing, and then something came over me. It was like, man, you should write your story. I'm gonna take it a step back. I did have an uncle telling me I should document my process and my journey and write a book. So I guess he kind of planted a seed.
Yeah.
But over time, I guess that seed was watered. And then something came over me saying that, hey, you should write your book, write the vision, make it plain. And that was kind of like, a piece of therapy for me. Because in the book, I talk about a lot of stuff. And of course, you got to put some fictional pieces into it.
Right.
You got to Hollywood your story a little bit. But, it's based on a lot of true events. So, my homeboy who committed suicide was a big inspirational factor for me writing that book. One of my best friends growing up, we went through poverty together.
Yeah.
We experienced the hood together. God rest his soul. Shout out to that boy Jarvis Cooper. What I'm saying? Like, his story, man, was real sad, dog. Like, we grew up in poverty. We come from the same place, but we took two different paths. I remember growing up in the hood, we would pick on like homeless people. We call them bases in Florida. Crackheads, whatever the case may be.
Yep.
And then my dog became one. And that kind of rocked me a little bit, man. Seeing dude homeless on the streets, walking around with a suitcase, begging people for change. He became the very thing which we used to pick on growing up.
Wow.
Yeah, man. So dude, had a lot, his life, bro, was a book on his own, man. And he lost his mom to AIDS, his dad to AIDS.
Wow.
He was living with his auntie. His auntie, you get that orphan check, people there. It's really about that check, And bro, he was the type of dude, he didn't know how to deal with his pain because back then we didn't talk about counseling. That was like, who does that?
Right.
He didn't have no safe space to get out what he was experiencing, like the trauma and the things he went through. So he went to talk to a liquor bottle. So bro, get on, the wine bottle, I call it the wine bottle, or the liquor bottle real bad.
Right.
So bro, like really became homeless. He was like really like messed up. He didn't have that God piece like that purpose factor, which is why like it's so important, man. Even why I call my business Purpose Builder and Developments. Everything that I build, everything that I do has to be rooted in purpose, or else it will fail.
Wow.
Like even this house, man. You got a Negro from the hood build $1 million houses. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
We literally living in purpose, like like the purpose and the will of God.
Yeah.
So it's like, back to bro, like, bro was a big inspirational factor to me, doing a lot of things that I do in life. Being a businessman, doing things the legit way, chasing after whatever, I feel like God has called me to do, regardless if the world felt as though I didn't have the gifts and the talents, because they was looking at it through the worldly lens.
Right.
But when you look at these lenses we got, right? God's lens is so clear. You know what I'm saying? It's much different because, we look at the word, the book of Samuel, it talks about, how the man has judged you by appearance.
Right.
But the Lord judges you by the heart.
Right.
When he anointed David, it wasn't based on, his looks or anything.
Qualifications, his abilities. Right.
It's about what he feels is qualified for this person to do this job for God. Because you're doing the job for him. You're not doing the job for man.
Right.
And he gets to determine the qualifications, not you.
Right.
So, when people say, like, man, how do you do what you do? I say, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, that the streets don't talk me well. I'm gifted. I'm very talented at what I do. I can do
very savvy, very business savvy. Yeah.
I could have been a lot of things in life, man. I could have been the biggest drug dealer, bigger than anything you seen on Ghost, on Power, Freeway. I could have been anything I wanted to be, the way that my mind is set up. But I said, you know what, God, I'm gonna do it for you. And I've been successful. Like, my life is, I may not be a billionaire yet, but I feel like I got what I need.
Right.
I got peace in my heart. I'm peaceful. I don't have no drama. I got nobody try to come shoot at me. Ain't got no baby mama drama.
Right.
I have no drama in my life, bro. My life is stress free.
Yo, man, and speak to those who they may be in a place right now where man, they're hearing some of the things you're talking about, and they resonate and they connect. And some may not necessarily connect, but some just really aspire to get to the place where they're walking and living inside their vision, right? Living inside of what they see with their eyes closed. How do you put an importance on, financial literacy, knowing wants versus needs, really being able to manage money well? Because a lot of people talk about, having nice things. For me, I'm a senior financial consultant by trade and by work, and I talk to clients and young students and business owners all the time, whether it's credit, whether it's cash flow management, and the importance of knowing, right, how to manage your resources and relationships and finances. What's the importance of like management for you and stewardship in order to really thrive at what you're doing?
I think the importance, man, you got to take it back to the root word, stewardship. Before you can even talk about money, before we can even talk about growing money, we got to learn the importance of stewardship. And that's biblical, man. You go back to the word, when you look at the parable about the gifts, how he gave one man 1, 5, and 10, and another dude was 2, 5, and 10, and 1. So when God gives you a gift or he gives you some money, he drops some money off in your lap. A lot of people think, well, if I made more money, then I could do this. No, it's not about making more money. It's about being a good steward over what God has already entrusted you.
Yeah.
So we can't even talk about the wealth building process if the people can't learn the stewardship process. When God gives you a nickel, how are you gonna flip that nickel into 10 cents? 7 cents, whatever the case may be. How are you gonna save? Your needs versus your wants. Do you need that? Do you want that? How are you gonna steward this, right? How are you gonna distribute it? Do you have the understanding that at the end of the day, this is all God's, everything in it, because the earth is His and the fullness thereof. So I feel like once you understand that stewardship process perspective, then we can get into like the wealth perspective.
Right.
Okay, now that you understand stewardship, now that you understand that this is God's first and yours is way at the end, now God can work through you to grow. Grow His, because it ain't yours to grow, it's His to grow. So like, I had to learn that, man. I didn't learn that overnight. I learned that through losses as a boss, as a businessman.
Yeah.
Negro done lost some money.
Right. Right.
You feel me?
Right. I think we have to, sometimes we're distracted by what we can gather and what we can like store up and gain up. I think if we can stop looking at our lives, our bank accounts, our relationships like a container, all of us are trying to store up. However, God wants us to look at ourselves like a channel, like a river. Imagine things could flow through me, right? I had a former mentor, former pastor who said they looked around for a financial advisor, okay? And first financial advisor prospect meeting, they had talked about, hey, what's your strategy? What do you want to do? How much do you want to invest? And they said, we want to donate X amount of dollars every year. They're like, what? They didn't get it. To the next conversation, next advisor prospect meeting, hey, what's your strategy? What do you want to do? Hey, we want to donate X amount of dollars every year. They're like, but what do you want to gain? What do you want to make? They didn't get it. Got another meeting, so on and so forth. Finally, they came across an advisor, sat down. So talk to me about your plan. What do y'all want to do? What is your top priority? Hey, every year, this is our mark. We want to give X amount of dollars away every year. He then says, well, that's quite simple. However, we need your portfolios to perform this way. We need your assets to grow this way. You have to net this in order to give this. They finally got someone to understand that they determine their growth and their net growth by how much they can give away. If a person wants to give away $1 million a year, how much more are they gonna have to make? If a person wants to donate $500 a year, $10 a month, how much more do you have to be able to receive in order for it to flow through you? And it finally dawned on me, in my life, I desire to donate a certain amount of money away, right? In our neighborhoods and Black and brown communities, we're taught that, come tax return time, it's like Christmas. Like, get the tax return check, get the child credit, it's like Christmas. However, for anyone who is either, wealthy or affluent or ever had to file taxes or making a decent amount of money, a win for you is to not have to pay nothing. Right? To itemize things, to get things paid off. That's truly what a win is. However, we've got this consumeristic mindset that's been passed on from household to household, and it takes a renewing of the mind to say, instead of trying to be a 6-figure income earner, how about I be a 7-figure donor a year? How much more would you have to make? You see what I'm saying? So that's where it clicked on me, like, wow, I'm not trying to have a marker of how much I can make. I'm trying to be able to let God know he can get as much as he wants through me. And then a byproduct of that is I'm just going to have to make X amount of dollars. I'm just going to have to have certain relationships. I'm just going to have to be able to do certain things. I'm going to have to live a certain way. Why? Because he will need me to do that to make his vision come to pass in my life. Man, speaking of legacy, bro, what would you say is what you want part of your legacy to be? As you continue to do what you're doing, impacting lives in your world, being a developer here in Dallas, what do you want part of your legacy to be?
Man, I think I go back and forth with this all the time, but I think essentially, in its simplest terms, man, I just really want people to know that I lived a life on empty. That everything that I did, was not so much about myself. It was about God, and about the community, and bringing up the next generation.
Yeah.
Right now I don't have a son, so I can't make my legacy, about my kid, because I don't have a kid to pass off the baton to, my legacy to. I don't have a birthright or a seed. But, I think in the interim, my thing is like, how do I impact as many young adults, like youth, as possible, to be able to be that little engine who could? Because growing up, even from football, I was always told I was too small. Like, I was too this, too that to go D1. I was always looked as though I wasn't good enough for whatever the case may be. Like, I had this stamp on my head, like, you seem like a good kid, but you're not what we're looking for.
Right.
So I didn't get those, those scholarship opportunities.
Right.
When I was a little street dude, I was always too hood. Everybody would look at me like, he probably ain't gonna be nobody. He a little too hood. Do you know who his daddy is? His daddy is Will Cyrus. My dad was a dope boy back in the day. Went to the Fed, went to federal prison. So everybody in the community always looked at me like, he ain't gonna be nobody. Even like in dating, like I remember little chicks I would speak to, like they liked me or whatever. I was a hood dude. I was very, like girls' dream, whatever. But when it got time for us to go to college, all their moms and their dads would be like, oh, you can't talk to him. He's not quote unquote marriage material. He ain't, people would always look down on me like I wasn't gonna be what I am today.
Right.
Like I always knew who I was gonna be. So I say all that to say this is, man, I want to inspire these kids, man, like myself, who always look down, as though like they couldn't do this, they couldn't do that. I want to help bring them up and give them that inspiration and encouragement to be like, bro, you can, bro.
Right.
If I can do it, if Will C can do it, you can do it.
Right.
Because I was that rose that grew from the concrete.
Right.
Like legit, out the mud. I didn't have no resources, no mentors. I had no dad to put me on, no aunties, no uncles, no rich, nobody. I literally had to figure this out through the grace of God. God, kept throwing me bones here and there. And I was just wise enough to take what was given to me and cultivate and use the gifts and talents that God gave me and grow and produce a crop tenfold. I know what I was doing. I just did it, made mistake after mistake, and turned them mistakes into, monetary gains. That's the best way I can put it.
Man, I definitely say you, even the land that you prospected in town in Dallas, the land that you built on, bro, you are good ground. Like, absolutely, like your life, like you said, arose from the concrete. Man, I believe, man, you're changing the game. You are changing the game. The things that you're doing at the age you are doing them, and also at the stage that you're in, and to have such a good heart to give back, man, I think it's amazing. This has been, probably one of the most impactful conversations and episodes, honestly, on perspective. This has been an amazing conversation to walk through your journey, learning about your process, your perspective, your vision, being a developer, being one who came straight rose from concrete, man. It's been amazing and inspiring, man. I appreciate you joining me for the conversation. Make sure y'all stay connected for this season of Perspective. Make sure you like, subscribe, share. Share this with someone if it was helpful for you. I know it'll be helpful for them. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Bro, talk to me about, I'm married, right? We celebrate 3 years in January.
Oh, that's a blessing, bro.
Got a little one coming. Bro, how do you sift through it for those who what's the dating, what does that look like right now, bro, out here?
Bro, it's trash, dog. Like,
Bro, my man said is trash, dog.
I tell you, it's trash, bro, because we got two people that really don't understand each other. Like, women don't understand what men want, and men don't understand what the woman that they want actually want to date want. And so we on two opposite ends of spectrums. These chicks out here, they want a high value man, but they're coming into it with these ludicrous ideologies like, well, I'm a high value woman and I feel like a high value man should want me because it is. And it's like, girl, it's not what we want. And vice versa, we may want, well, I know me, I'm very particular. I want a traditional woman. I don't want a modern woman. So I'm very clear with what I want. I know what I want.
Right, the one that want to travel, want to stay on the ground, want to show and tell, want to have the luxury, whatever that idea of luxury is. That got you. No.
I want a simple, wholesome woman, bro. It ain't that deep for me.
Right,
like,
right.
She ain't gotta be no IG baddie. She gotta be bad to me. You know.
Hey, that part. She gotta be bad to me. Yes, sir.
That part.
Yes, man. And even the idea of what high value is, bro. I think that's a distorted view. I think, bro, there's an over investment in the tangible. I'll tell you this: 3 years in a marriage, and it's gonna be a life hack for some of y'all bros. 3 years in a marriage, what I realized, what they told us as unmarried men, single men, to get the bag, to shore up your skills, to make sure you can provide, make sure you can protect, to be an atypical masculine man. I'll tell you this, bro. I almost bit the lie that your value is only deemed in what you can provide financially and what you provide in the bed and what you can do as be a protector of your family. Bro, there's so much more. I think one of my big bros told me one thing that always stuck with me. He said, man, for your marriage, have an emotional trajectory of how y'all want to grow as your life changes and evolves. I'm like, bro, that was the biggest advice for me. Why? Because society says you gotta have a certain job, you gotta make 6 figures, you gotta don't waste your 20s, travel, go see the world, and then when you're ready to settle down, then you can have a nice wholesome situation. But that's a lie. That's a lie. The truth is, once you walk into marriage, you get the opportunity to create the world that y'all want to live in. There are no rules. So I have a bro who has a little baby boy. They travel. He and his wife travel all the time, right? Now, sure, there are different things that there's dynamics because there's layers to it, having a little baby, right, or an infant. However, society has force-fed these ideals that we can't have success or we can't have a relationship. It has to be a certain way, and it's not the case. And by the way, and most women, y'all can agree with me if you won't, put an amen in the comments, is whatever level of life you start on, you live on, no matter what house you drive, no matter what car, no matter how you live in, the car you drive, relationships you have, all of that becomes normal. Sooner or later, the Tesla is not impressive. The BMW, the Beamer is not impressive. The Benz is not impressive. The $5 million home or even the $300,000 home is not impressive. All your wife or your spouse will want is safety, the liberty to grow and evolve as a woman, to be able to be championed, to be encouraged, to be able to trust. At the end of the day, yes, she wants to be provided for, and she wants nice things, right? She wants maybe go on vacation here and there, but the things that we invest in and make a premium as single men are the things that are normal inside of marriage, right? The type of income you have. Yeah, finances are a resource to manage your life together. If a man only has a vision for how he wants to grow bread, but doesn't have a vision for how he wants to actually put that bread to work or allocate his resources, then you stuck at start in the marriage, right?